Nick Faldo has won multiple majors. He was world number one for a long time, so clearly one of the greats of the game. Now, I grew up watching Nick Faldo. I remember him winning the '96 Masters. I even made my dad go and buy me that shirt and that putter. You might be the same, you might remember that tournament. But back then, the golf swing was coached very differently. Things have changed, and if you were coached into that style of swing like I was, and like so many have been, it's probably going to be holding you back. It's going to be making you worse. So in this video, I'm going to show you the new way to swing the golf club. It's easier, it gives you more power, it gives you more consistency, and it's actually more fun to swing it that way as well. So kind of what was that swing that everyone was coached back in the day? Well, back then we didn't really put the right emphasis on distance and power. We all thought the game was about accuracy and control. And you listen to Nick Faldo, who was coached by David Ledbetter at the time, and they spoke very much about, from setup, sort of holding this right knee in place, holding this right thigh in place, and winding the upper body up over this trail sort of thigh. And you think about Nick Faldo now, what he used to say is that he'd almost try and keep the flex in this knee, and as you wind up, you create this big stretch across your kind of midsection. And if I do that now, I can really feel that. And I even remember having a lesson as a junior golfer, and the coach saying to me, I want you to make a backswing, hold the right knee, hold the right thigh, hold the hips in place. And he said, as you get to the top of your backswing, you really should find it difficult to talk because you've created such a big stretch that it's difficult to get your words out. And I remember standing there searching for that feeling. Now, if you've ever had those ideas, you've ever had that sort of concept in your golf swing, you're probably holding yourself back. In this video, I'm going to teach you a much simpler way and the new way to swing the golf club. Now, we still want that power, we still want that speed in our golf swing, we still want that elasticity that gives us that speed. So we're going to create that, but a slightly different way. So we're going to do this in kind of 3 stages. The first thing would be, I want you to have more freedom in your backswing. So imagine if I said to you, take a setup here and place your feet into golf posture and just stand up normally. And imagine if I said, keep your feet in the same place, and behind me, someone shouted my name. What would I do? I'd turn around and I would speak to them. That would be a very free turn. I would never at any point kind of hold my legs and stretch my upper body to do that. I would just turn this way. And when I do that, I feel completely relaxed. I feel like there's no tension through my body. And there's a fair bit of movement in my knees and my hips to enable me to rotate my shoulders and kind of look behind me. That's how I want you to think about the golf swing. So let's first of all get away from this idea of locking everything down, making things stiff so we don't have too much movement. This is the first little drill. You're going to take something like a towel. It doesn't have to be a towel, and you're best to kind of just fold it over so it's not sort of too long. And what I'd love you to do is just take a setup, and obviously I've got the towel in my hand, and we're just going to make a really free backswing. You feel your whole body rotates, and this towel should sort of land onto your trail shoulder. So the more I lock this, I'm going to really find that difficult to do, and you can see that I can't really get that up over my shoulder. There's a fair bit of wind out here today, so it might blow the towel a little bit. As I make this free turn and swing my hands over my shoulder, you can see how the towel sort of hits me on that trail shoulder. So you see how I'm making this big turn in my body, knees are moving, hips are moving, everything is kind of rotating freely. And look at the top of my golf swing. I'm really not, hopefully you can pick this, I'm not struggling to breathe, I'm not struggling to speak. I'm in a really nice position, I feel really relaxed. Look what's happened in my legs. This knee has lost some of its flex. This hip has turned and gone a little bit higher. This knee has increased in flexion. You can probably see a little bit of daylight between my legs. That's what I want you to look for as you're doing this. So maybe not a bad idea initially to start and do this maybe in a mirror or a reflection so you can actually see what this looks like and how it might be different from something where you lock everything down and you're trying to create that stretch. There's that stretch where I feel like I can't sort of talk, I can't get my words out. This is going to give me a short backswing. Now, what's going to happen when you do that and you want to create speed and distance? Well, you need some length in the swing. So what often happens, as I see this all the time, we get this backswing where everything's locked down, and then how do the arms go further? Well, either the right elbow gets pulled behind the golfer or the left elbow bends because they're trying to get the golf club up here. And locking this down actually really changes the structure of your arms. And if you've ever looked at your golf swing and you see your right elbow flying, or maybe you see your left arm bending, it might be because you're locking everything down and you're trying to do all the work with your hands and arms. So that backswing move is going to get you into a much better position at the top. More turn, hands a little bit deeper. It's so much easier to play the game from there. but we haven't got any power stored up, so this is how we get it. You're gonna grab 2 golf clubs. I've got a 7-iron and a 6-iron. It really doesn't matter what they are, but the reason we've got 2 golf clubs is we want the extra weight. Okay, now you can't take a standard grip, but you can take as close as you can to a normal grip. And I want you to kind of set up, but you can just be sort of hovering above the golf ball. Feet really close together. Now what you're going to do is you're going to try and make that similar sort of movement that we've just made, this nice free turn where you're allowing the hips and the knees to move and you're feeling that very little tension. But as you get to around about here with your hands, and we'll call that kind of chest height, you're going to take your lead foot and you're going to step towards the target. Now naturally what will happen is as you take that step towards the target, your hips will start to turn towards where you're trying to go. So your hips are going to be opening or rotating towards the target. Because these clubs weigh a little bit, they're still going to have some momentum going in this direction, which is going to cause your shoulders to still want to rotate away from the target. So now we've got a separation. We've got the shoulders turning away from the target and the lower body starting to go towards the target. What's that doing? It's creating that stretch. So similar to that swing that Faldo was working on, creating that tension, we still want that. But I want you to create it in transition, not halfway into your backswing. So free turn, no tension, step across. And I tell you what, I feel that, and you will feel that as well. And it's a great way to get that sensation. I really want you to feel that through this whole midsection, through your hips, through your torso, through your core. You're really going to feel that stretch. And you're really going to start to sense and feel what these great players of today feel. They have so much torque in their body. So the stage from that will be to just continue to swing through. Now I don't want you to go at full speed because the weight of the clubs is going to feel quite noticeable, but I tell you what, it's a great feeling. I'd love you to go ahead and do this. You really get that sensation of this nice relaxed backswing, but then the transition is where you create that torque. So key, and then that torque then gets unwound down and through to impact. Which then brings us on to the final stage, which is how you're actually going to start to hit some balls this way. So I'm nice and relaxed. I'm expecting lots of movement. That's the key thing. I don't want you locked in over the golf ball. I'm expecting lots of movement. Number 2, I'm going to be making this nice free turn where I'm imagining that towel is landing on my shoulder. But as my hands get to around about chest height, I'm going to be stepping forward and I'm just going to swing through and just clip the ball off the tee. Now I say I'm not going to do this at full speed, but we should sort of see these movements happening together. Okay, absolutely nowhere near full speed when that ball's carried 95 yards. Okay, so my normal 7-iron is somewhere in the region of 175, 180. So it's kind of 50% distance, 50% speed. And initially, that's where I want you to live. I want you to live at that speed until you can really find the right movements, the right sensations, and then you can start to scale up. Now this movement will work with your irons, your driver, with everything. Okay, so here are the key points that you need to look for. Knees should be changing flex, losing, increasing. Hips should be turning freely. You should be able to get to the top of your backswing and not feel as if you're under any stress or under any torque. You shouldn't find it difficult to speak. You shouldn't find it difficult to breathe. You should feel very, very relaxed. But then in transition, you want to create that stretch and have that propel the body and the club through to the golf ball. That little drill we did with the step, you can scale that up in terms of speed, and then ultimately you can just go ahead and hit shots where you're putting it all together into a swing. And that's the shotgun start on the other golf course. So that's the little exercise I want you to do. Follow those steps and you can start swinging it like the modern player, and you're going to get so much more out of your game.